Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, we're going to discuss the immigration issue that is blowing up in our face. Specifically, I'm referencing illegal immigration, undocumented aliens, people who have no lawful reason to be here, and how this has been going on unchecked for the past several decades. Now we're at a point where it is essentially the accelerator to all of the other levels of financial crisis and duress economically that people are experiencing here in the United States. So the housing crisis is probably the most obvious area where we can see this occurring. People are being forced out of apartments, their property taxes are being raised. It is difficult to find a place to live now that will not bankrupt you. If you are a natural born citizen and you are a lifelong resident of particularly a state, a place that has a lower cost of living, it is very difficult for you to put a roof over your head and not drive yourself into debt at this point. How does the illegal alien issue play into this? First off, when you have unchecked, unfettered, unstinted deluge and invasion, particularly from our southern border, it will not stop in these states. States like California and leftist bastions like New York and New Jersey that harbor the welfare state ideology have a negative and direct impact upon the red states and the free states. So it doesn't matter if you live in a state like South Dakota or a state like Tennessee. The unchecked immigration in areas like in California and also the Texas border, in Arizona and New Mexico, these areas having been infiltrated by large numbers of people, tens of millions of illegal aliens, ultimately is affecting our ability to put roofs over our head here at home. And much of the protestation from the left and also from Catholic charities, who are a huge part of the support structure for illegal aliens coming through our southern borders, these groups are going to say that it's unchristian, that it is inhumane to deny people entry because they're poor and destitute. And I'm sorry, but throughout history, that has not been an excuse to break laws and come in here. I understand why people would do it, but that doesn't make me feel like I have to support their choices to break the law. You don't put out a fire in your neighbor's house by setting your own ablaze. And that's exactly what the invasion of illegal immigrants / illegal aliens has done. So now we've found ourselves at a point where we have such incredible competition and scarcity of resources because, frankly, we have more heads here in the United States. And as the population has grown, the infrastructure has not grown and scaled with it. Because if you have, for instance, 8 to 10% of a population who doesn't show up in the official counting, how can local services be scaled? How can county commissions plan? How can taxes be appropriately allocated if there's not a true objective data set to work with? So from a planning standpoint, this is also one of the reasons why places are more congested. There's more traffic on the roads. Places are growing at a rapid pace, but it's not just the illegal aliens that are part of this. It is the displacement that their very presence causes in these border states and the overflow to the rest of the nation. Unfortunately, after 1865, the victory of the federal government consolidated power in such a way that it has been on a straight-up march to tyranny ever since, with what they did in the Indian campaigns, breaking treaties, but also the expansionism and the imperialist mindset worldwide and getting us into unending cycles of war. Those issues notwithstanding, the states' rights issues that showed up after this have been really catastrophic, and we're eating the bitter fruit of them now. For instance, if California and the dirtbag leadership that state has facilitated, propped up, and supported, and I know I have a lot of viewers in California who are like, I didn't do it. I'm not talking about you. The government of California has done everything in their power to bring illegal aliens in, to take the tax dollars of Californians and also federal tax dollars and apportion them to this population. In addition to this, these people have to be fed and housed. Where are they being housed? With what resources are they being fed? All of this is taking the tax dollars from American citizens who are on the grid, so to speak, and funneling it effectively through the Democrat Party and through their social outreach programs and their community organizing platforms to these different peoples. And once they get in congregations, they take up more and more housing. So what happens then? Places like California, New York, New Jersey, to a great degree now, New Mexico and Arizona, these places, by absorbing such an influx, naturally have their housing prices go up. So what happens? Good people in these areas, and also not good people, say, I've had enough. I want to go to a place where I can get more for my dollar. So they march themselves across the border and they come into places like Texas and Florida and Tennessee and Indiana and Minnesota, the Dakotas. The net impact of this, we are eating the bitter fruit of it now. And it's more than just a political issue, it's a humanitarian issue. Now, the left and Catholic charities and the progressives who are, this is a humanitarian issue, it's a humanitarian issue. You're darn right it's a humanitarian issue. The people who are being asymmetrically affected by this are the natural-born American citizens who can't find a place to live now without being bankrupted. Meanwhile, the illegal aliens who are stealing tax dollars, who are taking up space, who are taking up resources. And by the way, I love children, but when you have illegal aliens that come over here and have 4 children each, those children who were born in the 90s, now they have to be fed and housed too. And guess what? Now they're legal. Sort of. Sort of. But they have to be housed. This cycle is not going to stop. And unfortunately, I think we're seeing right now that these issues that we have been trying to grapple with at a federal level, the federal government and the federal structure of government that currently exists in this permutation where Washington tells the states what to do, that is not working. So what's the solution, Patriot Nurse? The solution is for each state to do what is best for its constituents and its residents, and not to have Washington, D.C. dictate what that is. Gee whiz, Patriot Nurse, it sounds like a little bit, like revolutionary ideas. You mean like consent of the governed? That whole idea that life, liberty, and property are sacrosanct, and that a person shouldn't be deprived of them, particularly without due process? Mind-shattering. Mind-shattering civics. The federal government, it is exactly as the anti-federalists warned. The federal government can no longer safeguard the rights, the life, the liberty, and the property of American citizens. Instead, the United States is taking tax dollars right now and funneling it over to Ukraine to give Ukraine weapons. We have no business in Europe, and particularly the anti-federalists, Thomas Jefferson foremost of them, warned about foreign adventurism and getting involved in entanglements in Europe, which we are doing all over again. They warned that eventually, particularly Richard Henry Lee, warned that it would come to this, that the federal government would, instead of becoming the defender of the liberties of the citizenry, would become the greatest oppressor. The Democrat Party, and also facilitated by the rhinos, the Republicans, effectively anybody who doesn't stand for the Constitution, which is like 95% of anybody who's in a legislative body or any type of governmental institution in Washington, D.C. These people are a net oppressor of the rights of Americans. By blocking action on illegal aliens, and by incestuous alliances with community organizing groups and social activism and social welfare programs, they have orchestrated the collapse of the American dream. It ain't because millennials are lazy. There are some who are lazy. There's lots of people who are lazy. Generations have laziness knows no bound for what decade you were born in. But now we're at a point where we need solutions. So what's your solution, Patriot Nurse? My solution, frankly, is ultimately the Balkanization of the United States. Washington, D.C. cannot take care of people. It never should have taken care of people. It should have left people alone. That's the entire point of our Constitution. It is a blueprint against government. But the government has grown to such a point now where they have destroyed the purchasing power of American citizens. They have mortgaged the future of the American taxpayer. They have sold your children into bondage so they could arm Europe and bring all of Central and South America in here to eat freely and be housed on your dollar. And more. The only way that this stops is if they cease to have power. And the Constitution lays out a protocol for this. The challenge is that we are so disunited that people want to poo-poo every possible attempt to rein in their power and to reaffirm the power of the states individually against the federal government to take care of their people. There will not be any stop to this as long as the federal government has the power structure, the degree of power that it currently has. And so, friends, I know that this is not an easy thing for people to hear. It's funny because, like, as a nurse, I get accused whenever I bring up this subject matter, whenever I speak quite bluntly and frankly about this issue. People say, like, oh, that's so uncharitable of you. You know what's uncharitable? Taking food out of the mouths of American citizens. I prioritize my neighbor's well-being more than somebody in El Salvador that decides they want to come up here. Who do you prioritize more in your life? It's a good counter when people say, oh, it's so unfeeling. Are you going to take food out of your child's mouth and feed it to someone 2 states away? That's what you're advocating. Actually, what you're advocating is worse. We must take care of our own people. This starts, frankly, with getting hold of the monetary supply. But unless the Federal Reserve can be abolished, there is no vehicle that we have to vote our way out of this. An alternative currency is a good start. But until the states reassert their power to defend their own borders and to take care of their own people, this is going to get worse. So, friends, an Article 5 Convention of States is a possibility. But again, people have their different ideas. Oh, they just don't understand. So, at this point, I don't have any really good solution that involves the masses of ill-informed, squawking people who get their 10 seconds of information from Google. I don't have a way to empower people to change their lives from a civic involvement standpoint. I think that ship has sailed. The average American, I'm going to call this one like it is. The average American is too lazy, too stupid, and too illiterate to function in their own best interest. They are children who got old and need to be told what to do. For people who want to be left the heck alone and not have their savings debased into nothing, we are a minority. So what does this mean for us and moving forward? My functional assumptions are as follows. The federal government is the #1 domestic enemy of free people in the United States. Number 2, the state governments aren't that much better. If what I'm saying sounds radical to you, let me encourage you to go read our founding fathers' comments, the anti-federalists in particular, because what I'm saying here is tame compared to what they advocated. We are a nation born of armed rebellion, not just nice words, thoughts, and abstract ideas. They were willing to put teeth behind things. All I'm saying is to go out, show up, vote, and be self-sufficient. We're not going to vote our way out of a federal government that is corrupt, but at least we can vote locally and keep dirtbags from raising your property taxes and show up at town hall and hold your tax assessor's feet to the fire. Also, locally, in the areas and the counties, I know this in Texas to be the case because I've had tons of students show up with this. Locally, being engaged locally and forming a network locally is the only chance that we've got. We are not going to fix large national issues by playing in the large national field. We got to go the exact opposite of the way that they're going, and that involves locally, being involved locally, knowing who your sheriff is for sure, a meet and greet with local people, right, who have positions of elected power and elected servantship authority. Friends, I don't know how we fix this. In my opinion, unless there was mass deportation, there is no fixing this. during certain periods, I want to say it was during the 20s and also during the 50s, there was a halt on all immigration. Short of that and mass deportation, there's no way we can win this demographic war. There are too many people here right now who don't need to be here, who are taking up resources and also water from key areas. Think about that out west. There are too many people here who don't need to be here, who don't have a lawful reason to be here, and who are draining the savings and labor from us and from our children. And until that is fixed, I don't have a hope that our economy is going to right itself. It can't. So, boy, isn't that chipper, Patriot Nurse? I'm just calling it like it is. I probably stepped on a lot of toes, but I don't care. I'm just speaking the truth. And in a world full of lies, I guess that's a dangerous thought. So be it. It is what it is. Hope the video was helpful for y'all today. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll subscribe to me here on YouTube, Patriot Nurse. You can also stay with me and support me on Patreon, Subscribestar, Cryptocurrency, and PayPal. I got links below. Guys, we got to be self-sufficient because I'm telling you, if it is a bean issue, a bullet issue, or a Band-Aid issue, the federal government is not your friend. Government in general is not your friend, but the feds really are not your friend. So when it comes to any type of involvement of the government into your life, when it comes to food, we want to self-select out of their power. Any type of involvement in trusting them to take care of you and defend you from enemies foreign and domestic, forget that. They incompetent. They're seriously, the Department of Defense right now is too busy worrying about whether or not a dude can show up in dress skirts for a dress uniform. That's their big issue right now. So I don't really have any confidence that they're going to be capable at defending us internationally. And I definitely know that I'm going to take care of myself here at home. From a medical standpoint, these people and all of their leftist wokeism have now infiltrated so heavily into the medical industrial complex that they're going to weaponize this. They already are weaponizing this. Taking like children aside from their parents and asking them on admission assessments, how many guns are in the house? Do mommy and daddy spank you? Do you really want these people having any insight into your life, authority, or a window into your privacy? Heck no. The most that we can hope for is benign incompetence in the medical industrial complex. I don't assume that. I assume malevolence at this point. Sorry to say it. It's true. So I don't want to need them. And if you don't want to need them, you're going to have to educate yourself and you're going to have to get your skill sets up. So I've got a course online to help you become more self-sufficient. It's 4 hours. It's $129. You can find that link down below. If you think about it this way, most of the time you're going to pay $150 to go to the doctor's office. And if my course saves you one trip to the doctor's office that you didn't need, then it paid for itself. So think about it that way. Save you some money too. Friends, we are in deep doo-doo. And my hope is not in those people in DC. Those are some wicked, vile, evil, corrupt, satanic entities up there. I don't want no part of them in my life. I know who I serve. It's the Lord God Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth. His scriptures are what I'm holding fast to, and his commandments, and that's where I'm at. And the less that I have to engage with those evil creatures up there, the better. So I hope the video is helpful for y'all. I hope you all have a very blessed week. Thanks for staying with me. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off. I'll see y'all later. Mwah! Bye!